In today's Monster Manual Mini, we're going to be turning to page 204 and 205 in the Monster Manual to talk about lizardfolk. Let's crawl into it. Lizardfolk have been through all of the editions of Dungeons & Dragons, and not a whole lot has changed from their early introduction. They're medium-sized, and their alignment is neutral. In 5th edition, their armor class is 15. That's just natural armor, usually a shield as well. Tough hides. Hit points average 22, with 4d8 plus 4 as the base. Their speed is 30 feet on foot, and also swimming 30 feet. They're relatively strong, but not super intelligent or charismatic. Strength of 15, dexterity of 10, constitution of 13, intelligence of 7, wisdom of 12, and charisma of 7. They're pretty perceptive with a +3 to their perception, pretty sneaky with a +4 to stealth, and +5 to survival. The stealth and survival generally are based on the fact that they have a more naturalistic equilibrium with their environment. Their passive perception is 13. They do speak Draconic, and they've got a challenge rating of 1/2, generally 100 experience per. They can hold their breath for up to 15 minutes, so good for submersion. And for actions, they have multi-attack, so they can make 2 melee attacks, each one with a different weapon. Their general attacks include a bite, which is a +4 to hit, 5-foot reach, 1 target, doing 1d6 plus 2 piercing damage. Generally have a heavy club with a melee weapon attack of +4 to hit, 5-foot reach for 1 target, with a 1d6 plus 2 bludgeoning damage. A javelin, which is a melee or ranged weapon attack. It's +4 to hit. Reach is 5 feet, or for a range, 30 feet. Long range would be 120 feet, targeting 1, with a hit of 5 on the average, a 1d6 plus 2 piercing damage. And they carry a spiked shield, which they can also use for a melee weapon attack at a +4 to hit, with a 5-foot reach, again 1 target, with 1d6 plus 2 piercing damage. While the Monster Manual does specify that lizard folk generally live in swampy or jungle areas, just like real lizards, I like to think that they can be found in any environment, whether it's deserts or rocky mountainous terrain. I think lizards are very apt to be found in just about any environment your campaign can be in, so don't hesitate to put them in different areas in your game world. I think they make a fantastic opportunity for characters to explore both good and evil, as well as the neutral aspect of lizard folk, because they're well known in the game as that neutral type of figure who does basic tribal trading. They're a good opportunity to find stories that the party can go and do quests based on their input and information. But, of course, with a lizard king or queen kind of dominating the tribe and getting them riled up to go on raiding parties or serving an evil dragon, they can really become a good opponent for PCs as well. Now, because they are known as those canny type of crafters, they're not skilled artisans, but they craft tools and ornamental jewelry out of bones of their kills, using hides and shells of dead monsters to create shields. A good opportunity for a story take would be for lizard folk to craft in items that they have scavenged or possibly even recovered from previous adventuring parties tools and items of importance that they may not really have an understanding of what it is, but could be a good opportunity for you to weave in some of the arcane lore or artifacts or relics from different cultures, previous adventuring parties, and that MacGuffin into your story that the PCs will have to work with the lizard folk to obtain as part of a kind of a fetch quest. So while lizard folk don't have any traditional morality, really focusing on the concepts of good and evil, they generally are described to be very territorial. So this can really come into effect if parties are doing any type of wilderness travel. A good opportunity for them to kind of stumble across unknowingly lizard folk territory. While they may not pose a threat, the lizard folk may see them as a threat. So if you're looking at disrupting, whether it's long rests, maybe even short rests, or having wilderness encounters, again, lizards can be found in all different types of climates. Lizard folk could be a great opportunity to have your characters stumble upon some of their natural terrain and their territory and lead to an encounter, whether it be combat or some type of trade or anything like that. I think it's a good opportunity. One of the biggest things about having a 1/2 CR rating enemy to focus on is, again, looking more at numbers. Where you're going to have a good opportunity is when your party is pitted against multiple lizard folk, especially when you bring in either lizard folk shaman, or if you're looking at a lizard folk kind of stronghold or village, putting in a lizard king or queen. The dynamics can really change, and your party can be faced with not only higher numbers, but opportunities to bring in some spell casting, as well as some more stronger attacks, with the lizard king or queen having items like their skewer attack. I also change up a lot of the creatures that I have my party encounter just so they don't metagame. So I'll give them different weapons that they could have scavenged or found or retrieved from previous adventurers who met their fate at the hands of lizard folk, whether via trading or by having fought and lost to the lizard folk. I really like to utilize the lizard folk in all different types of environments to kind of throw off my party, and I utilize them in their kind of pack tactics, and especially if they've had a lizard king or queen who has a higher intelligence or being led by a dragon. So I'll have the party spot lizard folk but then attack from behind. Here it's a great way to make sure that anybody sticking behind because they have low armor or lower hit points still has a threat to deal with. That's kind of a front line. So changing it up, keeping your frontline characters busy to the front, but adding a challenge to those backline characters, really make your party have to think tactically and use terrain to their advantage. Additionally, if you have the party face that front character and not know something's coming up behind them or from the sides to get flanking opportunity, it's a good opportunity to really utilize the terrain to your advantage. If they're in a swamp or with boulders around, trees if it's a jungle type area, because they have a very high stealth anyhow, it's very possible that the players may not detect additional lizard folk. So you can increase their numbers or decrease their numbers and have anybody who is hiding report back to the tribe. Of course, they will use pack kind of tactics. So in this version, you can see them trying to cut off that tank from the support group. And this, again, will allow the lizard folk to take advantage of items like flanking that your party will use. Don't hesitate to use your villains or your encounter species the same way players would, as long as it makes sense. So with these minis here, you can see I use pretty standard lizardfolk style painting, greens and yellows, and then had the armors and weapons a bit different. That way it really stood out. And although I use lizardfolk in all different types of terrain, for these minis I made the bases look pretty swampy. That way on the table it was pretty recognizable for my players that these are in fact lizardfolk. And even though I changed some of them up, gave them a little bit of reach with spears, and changing up the tactics that I use, I still want to keep them recognizable and kind of anchored in the lore. So I hope you enjoyed the miniatures that I have to represent lizardfolk. Let me know what you think about the paint jobs, how I use them, how you use them in the game by commenting below. And next week we're going to focus on something completely different for a Monster Manual Mini. In the meantime, keep your brushes wet, keep minis on the playing table, challenge your players, and get very creative with the monsters you utilize in the game and how you represent them on your gaming table. Thanks for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed it, hope it was enlightening and informative. Here's another video we think you may enjoy. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to help us grow. Remember, we launch new videos every week to try to help you answer the question of where will your adventures take you.